in this webinar session on legal aid, listening to the cries of poor and vulnerable communities. APNA is youth-driven NGO primarily focused at implementing gender equality and inclusive future. Right to education with special emphasis on Section 12(1)(c) of RTE Act 2009 and creating awareness about climate change with special attention towards Sustainable Development Goals 2030, mainly climate action, zero hunger, quality education, and gender equality. Now, I would like to introduce our speaker of this evening, Dr. Kehkasham Vaid Danial, Professor, Faculty of Law, Jamia Millia Islamia. Ma'am is also former statutory member of Delhi Legal Services Authority. It would be a futile exercise to bind all her achievements and specialities in few minutes. But above all, she is a wonderful teacher with thorough knowledge and command on her subjects. She is author of 2 books, Muslim Law of Marriage, Divorce and Maintenance, and The Law of Waqf in India. Now I would like to hand over the platform to ma'am to give us an insight and throw light on the topic.
Good evening, friends. I hope I am audible to you. And the topic, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this webinar for giving me this opportunity to speak to you about my experiences. Since our faculty of law, we have a team of paralegal volunteers, and the paralegal volunteers have really, done so much work that it has been, they have gained a lot of respect in the Delhi State Legal Services Authority. And since I also happen to be a statutory member, I'm former statutory member of this authority, and I would discuss this later on. First of all, very, very thanks to the organizers of this webinar. So coming to the topic of legal aid, listening to the cries of poor communities. First of all, I would like to give a broad synopsis of what I'm going to discuss today. First of all, I would like to talk about legal aid, how it is a welfare provision, and Article 39, capital A of the Constitution of India, the Legal Services Authorities Act 1987, in which 2 amendments were carried out, one in 1994 and another in 2002, and the Paralegal Volunteer Scheme of the National Legal Services Authority, and about the paralegal volunteers of our faculty and their contribution to how they have worked carrying out these outreach activities with the Delhi State Legal Services Authority for a number of years. So coming to, first of all, what is legal aid? Legal aid is the provision of help, or we can say assistance, to people who cannot afford to bear the cost of legal system, who due to a lack of resources are not able to have access to justice. And because they cannot afford the litigation expenses. You see, the litigation expenses are very high, especially in a place like Delhi. The litigants have to pay the lawyer's fee, court fees, stamp duties, typing charges, and process fee, and so many other things, which maybe the poor people cannot afford. So we can say it is basically a welfare provision of the state to the people who otherwise cannot afford access to justice, who cannot afford a counsel basically. What I am saying is the other expenses apart from hiring a counsel. So it is basically for who cannot afford a counsel under the legal system. Now, first of all, let's see Article 39A of the Constitution. What does it say? It says, I'll read it from there. The state shall secure that the operation of the legal system promotes justice on a basis of equal opportunity and shall, in particular, provide free legal aid by suitable legislation or schemes or in any other way to ensure that opportunities for securing justice are not denied to any citizen. So we can say that legal aid is essential to guaranteeing equal access to justice for all, Fine. Now, further, in a welfare state, if there is an aspiration to have an orderly society, it must preserve the rule of law. But if the poor and needy are not able to access justice, like people who can afford, it results in absence of equality of opportunity, or we can say it results in absence of equality. And in such situation, the rule of law has to be preserved. And how it can be done? It can be done by providing free legal aid to the poor, downtrodden and weaker sections of the society, so that they also have access to justice like those people who can afford it. Now, why this provision of free legal aid? Because in the haves and have-nots, it is a kind of help by the government to provide a level playing field to all, so that even the people who cannot afford the legal system or afford a counsel or justice are given some kind of help by the government so that they can also have a level playing field. Now, first of all, we look at the 14th Law Commission report, in which the right to assignment of counsel at government expense was emphasized. It was emphasized that a counsel should be provided to people who cannot afford a legal counsel on government expense. Be that as it may, in 1969, the Law Commission again strongly recommended that the rights of the accused to representation at the cost of the government should be placed on statutory footing, and especially in relation to trials for serious offences. To begin with, it was decided that the Commission proposed that such rights should be available in all trials which are taking place before the Court of Sessions. Now, in order to obtain the objectives enshrined in Article 39A of the Constitution, government had, with the object of providing free legal aid, they, by a resolution, they appointed a committee called the Committee for Implementation of Legal Aid Schemes, which is called the CILAS, CILAS. I'll repeat, Committee for the Implementation of Legal Aid Schemes. And the purpose behind the formation of this committee was, it was formed under the chairmanship of Justice P.N. Bhagwat. And the purpose was to monitor and implement legal aid programs on uniform basis in all states and union territories. So the commission evolved a model scheme which was accordingly accepted by the government, central government. And further, in that scheme, uh, several legal aid advisory boards were constituted in various parts of India, including states and union territories. The legal aid and advice boards were constituted under this scheme promoted by CILAS. Now, I remember when I was practicing in the district and high courts, Delhi, I was also appointed as a member of the Delhi Legal Aid and Advice Board. And as a member of that board, I was also assigned cases. And the first case which I got was, it was a case of a Muslim divorced woman, which I filed on for her as her lawyer. It was a case under Section 125 CRPC of regarding her maintenance from her husband who had divorced her. I cannot forget this case because it became the turning point of my life, in the sense that it gave me a number of insights to the plights of divorced Muslim women at that time. I practiced in the district court between 82 and 88. So that was a time when the Delhi Legal Aid Advice Board was functioning. Now, what happened after that? When this scheme was reviewed, the CILAS scheme of Delhi of Legal Aid Advice Boards was reviewed, it was found that there were certain deficiencies in the program. So it was considered desirable to constitute statutory legal authorities and national, state, and district and taluka legal services authorities. The purpose was to provide legal monitoring, effective monitoring of legal aid programs, and to give statutory backing to the Lok Adalats and statutory backing to the awards given by Lok Adalats, which was not there earlier. So, with that objective in mind, the Legal Services Authorities Act 87 was passed, and let's look at the uh, objective behind the passing of this act. It says, I am referring to the Legal Services Authorities Act 1987. It says an act to constitute legal services authorities to provide free and competent legal services to the weaker sections of the society to ensure that opportunities for securing justice are not denied to any citizen by reason of economic or other disabilities, and to organize Lok Adalats to seek the operation of the legal system promotes justice on a basis of equal opportunity. So let's see this. I'll discuss this, the act. First of all, we have section 1 is the uh, naming act. Second, section 1 is the short title, extent and commencement. Let's come to section 2, talks about the definition clause, section 2. And it talks about that it says what is a High Court Legal Services Committee, what is a Lok Adalat, what is a Legal Services Committee, Taluka Legal Services Committee, District Services Authority, State Legal Services Authority. We'll come to that. Uh, we have the chapter 2, which talks about the constitution of a National Legal Service Authority, which we call NAS in New Delhi. So this section 3 talks about the constitution of ANALSA, and 3A talks about the constitution of the Supreme Court Legal Services Committee, which is formed basically to take care of legal aid, to provision of free legal aid in all those cases which are pending in the Supreme Court. Then you have section 4. Section 4 talks about the functions of NALSA. Some of them are very important from our point of view. From the point of view of students who want to be a part of this free legal aid service programs, we have section 4E talks about organizing legal camps. But this also for all those law schools or associations who want to do this voluntary work. It is not actually voluntary, you are paid for it. I'll come to that just now. So organized legal aid camps. 4E says, especially in rural areas, slums or labor colonies, the dual purpose of educating the weaker sections of the society as to their rights, as well as encouraging the settlement of disputes through Lok Adalat. Then you have section 2F, encourage the settlement of disputes by negotiations, arbitration, and reconciliation and conciliation. Section 4L talks about take appropriate measures for spreading legal literacy and legal awareness among the people, and in particular to educate weaker sections of the society about the rights, benefits, and privileges guaranteed by social welfare legislations and other enactments, as well as administrative programs and measures. Now, come to section 5, and this will be there for all. In section 5, it is very clear, and it is provided for all authorities that they have to work in coordination. In discharge of their functions, they have to work in coordination with other governmental and non-governmental agencies, universities, and others engaged in the work of promoting the cause of legal service to the poor. So that is why we find the authorities, contacting all the law schools and maybe other students also for this work. Then section 6 about State Legal Services Authority, under which we have the Delhi State Legal Services Authority. Section 6 talks about the constitution of the State Legal Service Authority. Under section 2C, it says every state government shall constitute a body to be called the Legal Service Authority for the state to exercise the powers and perform the functions conferred on or assigned to a state authority under this act. A state authority shall consist of such number of other members possessing such experience and qualifications as may be prescribed by the state government, to be nominated by that government in consultation with Chief Justice of the High Court. Now, I was nominated as a statutory member of the Delhi State Legal Service Authority under Section 2C of the Legal Services Authorities Act 1987. I was there from I was there for a period of 3 years. Years, I'll come to that just now. Now, coming to section Section 8 talks about again the coordination that the State Legal Service Authority also has to act in coordination with. I will skip off other things. I'll just come to universities. Then you have uh, the District Legal Service Authorities. They are talking about the District Legal Service Authority and the Taluka Legal Services Committees. Now further, uh, let's come to chapter 4, which talks about entitlement to legal services, which is very important. We should know as to who all are entitled to be provided free legal aid under this act. Section 12 very clearly says, a member of a scheduled caste or scheduled tribe, a victim of trafficking in human beings or beggar as referred in Article 23 of the Constitution, a woman or a child, a person with disability. Further, a person under circumstances of undeserved want, such as being a victim of a mass disaster, ethnic violence, caste atrocity, flood, drought, earthquake, or industrial disaster. And an industrial workman or in custody of in a protective home within the meaning of Section 2G of the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956. Now, and then there are Section 6H, sorry, just a minute. Section 12
what
H talks about, yes.
What section? Income.
So section 12H talks about the annual income, which makes entitles the person to get free legal aid. Now come to a very important part of the section 15 talks about a national legal aid fund, 16 talks about a state legal aid fund, and 17 talks about a district legal aid fund. Now come to Lok Adalat. There's a very important provision. Chapter 6 talks about Lok Adalat. Section 19 talks about constitution of a Lok Adalat. And all those students who are PLVs who have gone to as volunteers in Lok Adalat will understand it much better. And of course, we'll try to have another training so that we can have more students joining as PLVs from our faculty so that they can also have this experience. Now, the jurisdiction of a Lok Adalat is defined in section, just a minute, there's some disturbance. In section 19.5, that is, it can be in respect of a case which is already pending before the court or a case which is within the jurisdiction of that Lok Adalat, but it has not been brought before the court. So that can also be taken care of. So section 20 talks about cognizance. How can the Lok Adalat take cognizance of the court? Either the parties agree to the case being taken to the Lok Adalat, or any one of the parties can make an application to the court so that they want to go to the they want to take the case to the Lok Adalat, but the court will only send the matter to a Lok Adalat after hearing both the parties and not without that. Even in cases where the court the case is not pending before the court, but the matter is within the jurisdiction of the Lok Adalat, in that situation also the Lok Adalat can take cognizance of that case by an application made by either of the parties. But in that situation also, the court has to give a reasonable opportunity of being heard to both the parties to finally decide. Now, what is important for us here is that section 24, which says that it will be guided by the principles of justice, equity, fair play, and other legal principles, the Lok Adalat, while they are determining this reference. And when no award, section 25 says, when no award is made by the Lok Adalat on the ground that no compromise or settlement could be arrived as between the parties, the record of the case shall be returned to the court from which reference has been received under subsection 1 for disposal in accordance with law. So this case to which the court to which the case is coming back from the Lok Adalat, as it has the compromise has not been reached, in that situation, they shall proceed to deal with such cases from the stage which was reached before such reference under subsection 1 was made. This is section 27. Now, most important, section 21, which says that every award of the Lok Adalat shall be deemed to be a decree of a civil court. And 21.2 says every award made by Lok Adalat shall be final and binding on all the parties to the dispute, and no appeal shall lie to any court against the award. So we can very clearly say that we can say that it is an alternate dispute resolution mechanism which can bring down the load of the court, because if the cases are settled in the Lok Adalat, then that means the overburdening of courts can be avoided. So then section 22 talks about Lok Adalat or permanent Lok Adalats. This was added by the 2002 amendment, and section 22A, which talks about pre-litigation conciliation and settlement. It says what is a permanent Lok Adalat, and permanent Lok Adalat, it deals with public utility service cases. Section 22A, please make your mics mute. अपने mics को mute कर लीजिए. So public utility services means transport service, postal telegraph, telephone service, supply of power, light or water to the public, system of public conservancy or sanitation, service in hospitals or dispensary, insurance service, housing and estates, banking and financial. These permanent Lok Adalats are basically for these public utility services. Now further, section 22 capital D, it says that the permanent Lok Adalat shall, while conducting conciliation proceedings or deciding a dispute on merit under this act, be guided by the principles of natural justice, objectivity, fair play, equity and other principles of justice, and shall not be bound by the Code of Civil Procedure and the Indian Evidence Act. And again, the judgment, the awards given by this permanent Lok Adalat they are also final, and it cannot be, they are deemed to be a decree of a civil court, and they cannot be, and this award is given by a majority decision hota hai. Now the chapter 7 of this act talks about miscellaneous provisions, which I think we will not go into all this. Now coming back to we have to look at the challenges. What are the challenges? This is the theory part, that all these provisions have been given with very good intentions, but let's see how it is being implemented. What are the shortcomings? The shortcomings, first of all, we have to understand one thing, that the importance of legal aid can be realized only if people are aware about their basic rights. If they are not aware of their basic rights, then they are exploited, and ultimately they are deprived of their rights and benefits provided to them under law. So what is very important is legal awareness about this. So first of all, since there is lack of awareness among people, they are not aware about the law, this law, they are not aware about their rights, they are not aware about the authorities, they are not aware about their entitlement, they are not aware about the schemes, the beneficial schemes which have been provided under this legislation. So what is important in the present circumstances? Awareness. Now, how can this awareness be brought? So once I was talking to one of the judges, and the discussion was regarding that there is a lack of awareness among the people. And if you really work at the ground level, you will find that there's so many beneficial schemes which people are not aware of. It's really very sad for people who are not aware of their rights. So I was talking to the judge and discussing this. So I said, why don't you promote it on TV? So many people, majority of the people watch TV, they have TV and they watch. So the answer was that we cannot go to Delhi Doordarshan because they have no viewership. We cannot go to private channels because it was said that they have so many corruption cases pending in our courts, so we can't go to them. So the problem is how to create legal awareness, how to create awareness about this. So our paralegal volunteer scheme is one of the way of creating legal awareness. I'll just come to that. And the second one is quality of service. The quality of service is also not very good in most of the cases, because not many lawyers want to join this. Why? Because of less remuneration. But I think it has been taken care of to a large extent, because in one of the meetings, statutory meeting of Delhi State Legal Service Authority, the members realized the problem with less remuneration. They realized what was, in fact, what was the hurdle in people, in lawyers, good lawyers joining this panel. So they decided to increase the remuneration of lawyers taking care of different kinds of cases. And it was recorded in the minutes also. That means it has been implemented. But the fact remains is, despite the fact that the remuneration has been increased, it has been made increased to make it more attractive to lawyers. But some, I don't know, some lawyers are not basically morally inclined to join this, and some of them want to join as it is be a steady source of income. Immediately after completing their LLB, they want to join this. So they should have some practice. No, practical experience is necessary. And some of them, I'm very sorry, they are not faithful to their clients, and that there are cases of collusion. There are cases of lawyers, these legal aid lawyers demanding money, demanding remuneration on each and every date, despite the fact that they are paid everything by the authority, by the government. So there they also have delaying tactics also, then don't bother about them. I know personally a matter, somebody had approached me, some family was not able to afford a lawyer in Delhi. So they approached me, and I in fact helped them in getting a lawyer. But after some time, when this person approached me, he told me that the person is demanding, that the lawyer demands remuneration on every date, and he takes a date and he goes off. So that is also, we have to have a positive, should have a positive mental attitude to join this force. So we can have more legal awareness camps. This is also a way of creating awareness among people. More legal awareness camps, especially in areas where we find weaker sections of society are staying, like the resettlement colonies and slums. And we can also have free legal aid clinics established in various. We can have, like we have a legal aid clinic in our faculty. We can, all the legal law schools now have legal aid clinics. They have paralegal volunteers. Now, coming to the paralegal volunteer scheme. Now, since creating legal awareness is the most important step, because law should reach the people, we cannot wait that the people reach the law. They will never reach, because they have no idea about it. They are not aware about it. So, in that connection, in the year 2009, the NALSA, the National Legal Services Authority, brought about a paralegal volunteer scheme in 2009, which aimed at imparting legal training to volunteers selected from different walks of life, so as to ensure legal aid resulting reaching all sections of people through the process of PLVs, or the paralegal volunteers. A 2-day training program was organized in uh, September 2010 at the Chandigarh Judicial Academy for paralegal training and legal aid activities, and they were trained as TOTs, or trainers of trainers, under the paralegal volunteer scheme. All the authorities from different parts of India, whether it was a state legal service authority, NALSA, or district legal service authority, or the taluka, they all participated. All the member secretaries of these authorities participated, each one of them with a lawyer and an academician. And I happened to be the academician who attended the training program with the Delhi State Legal Services Authority. And we were trained by Supreme Court and High Court judges. And when we came back, we organized the first paralegal volunteer training at Jamia Millia Islamia in March 2011. It was only for 25 students. Now you must have heard people having, law schools having 300 PLVs, 200 PLVs. But since it was the first paralegal volunteer training, it was 25 students. Basically, one of them dropped out, so we have 22 from Faculty of Law and 2 from Department of Social Work, Jamia Millia Islam. Now, I am very proud to say that the first PLV batch from Delhi happened to be from Jamia Millia Islam. Now, we have the law schools, I think all the law schools in Delhi have paralegal volunteers. So what I want to tell you is that the first batch of paralegal volunteers was from Jamia Millia Islam. Now, this how was these paralegal volunteers selected? It was through admission. It was through an entrance test and followed by an interview. They were selected and they were interviewed by the members of Delhi State Legal Services Authority. Thereafter, we have organized, I have been a trainer in a number of paralegal volunteers training at the Chandra Prabhu Jain College of Higher Studies and School of Law, affiliated to Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, and I also train the students in Crodimal College, University of Delhi. We have also organized a number of paralegal volunteers training in our own faculty, and we have a very big batch of paralegal volunteers. They usually prefer students who join in first year, second year, and third year. They don't want to take any student from fourth and fifth year because they want the students to stay with them for at least 5 years. So we are soon going to organize, once everything gets back to normal, we are soon again going to organize a paralegal volunteer training program in our faculty. I was trying earlier, I think last year, and there were some issues. We had also decided upon the date, and we had also decided the certificate, everything. But then it didn't happen. But so we are soon going to have it because there has been some disturbance. Because of that, we could not do it, but we'll do it soon. I think we still have a number of paralegal volunteers in our faculty after the 5th years have passed out, because there are students in 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year, even today. Fine. Now, what I want to tell you is that when the paralegal volunteers work as volunteers of Delhi State Legal Services Authority, first of all is that they get exposure. They are interacting with the judges, which usually the newcomers and the new students are not able to do that. I remember my first appearance in court. It was really difficult to address the judge in your first appearance. So they get exposure there. They get remuneration, a very good remuneration. They get certificates, and they get IDs, identity cards. And because of the work of our paralegal volunteers, they have in fact earned a lot of respect in the Delhi State Legal Services Authority. We have our paralegal volunteers along with us. We have organized, the faculty along with the paralegal volunteers has organized a number of legal awareness camps in every Talimi Mela which is organized every year during the Foundation Day celebrations of Jamia Millia Islamia. It's called the Educational Fair or the Talimi Mela. We always have a legal awareness camp in there, in which our students, our volunteers, PLVs participate, and they provide help to the needy and poor people. If they have any questions or any law, they are ready to help them. And then we also have now these in Talimi Melas also we get collaboration. This is all in collaboration with the Delhi State Legal Services Authority. They always come to help us along with their counselors, along with their lawyers who stay there throughout the day with us. Then we also organized a legal awareness camp at HR Public School for Jogabai colony, the Jugi Jopri colony behind Jogabai. And this was also organized with the help of the Delhi State Legal Service Authority. It was an eye-opener for the people of that area because they were not aware of the schemes which would have helped them if they were aware. In fact, all these cases were picked up by the Delhi State Legal Service Authority so that they can go ahead with those cases. There were some women with a disabled child because they also get free legal aid. Then there was a woman whose son had been murdered, so there's a scheme to help them out financially, to help them out. Then we also organized a legal awareness camp at Ghaffar Manzil. near Jamia Millia Islamia. It was in collaboration with Sabka Ghar, who are very active. Then we also organized a legal awareness camp at Old Delhi in the Anglo-Arabic School in collaboration with Delhi Education Society. It was basically for the women of Old Delhi. Then our paralegal volunteers have also taken part in community awareness programs for senior citizens under the Maintenance and Care of Parents and Senior Citizens Act 2000 in collaboration with National Institute of Social Defense and Anugrah. Then there have been a number of Lok Adalats. Lok Adalats are organized, I think, 5-6 times a year, and our students have been volunteers in all these Lok Adalats, and they have learned a lot how these cases are settled, how these people put their cases before the judges, and how these cases are settled, different kinds of cases. And then Nukkad Natak. Our Faculty of Law has a team called the Azad. They have performed Nukkad Natak at so many places. They have won accolades for that. They have performed Nukkad Nataks at various residential colonies like the resettlement colonies and juvenile justice boards, schools, trade fairs, and they have been to juvenile justice board, prison, and they have also managed help desk, perform duties at the district and at the high court and district courts. All their duties provided. They have done duties, and when they are doing this work of paralegal volunteers, they also get attendance because it is done through the dean of the Faculty of Law. Whatever uh, communication used to be received by me, I used to forward it to the dean so that their attendance will come from there, and then that attendance, on the basis of that attendance, they will be given attendance for those days when they have gone for duty, official duty. It is considered as official duty. Then our paralegal volunteers have also been a part of traffic rule awareness. They have been a part of a number of drives carried out by the Delhi police on the road to create traffic rules awareness amongst people driving on the road or walking on the roads. Then they have also created awareness in schools, volunteered about the Constitution of India, about crimes against women and rights of women. And there they found that the senior school girls were very forthcoming about this. They were very well aware about all these laws. Then they have also carried out house-to-house surveys. This was all in collaboration with the Delhi State Legal Service Authority. House-to-house surveys, they have participated as volunteers in house-to-house surveys about to educate, make the people aware about crimes against women, domestic violence, rape, stalking, etc. The biggest feather in our cap has been the project on manual scavenging. You must be knowing about Mr. Bezwada Wilson, who is a human rights activist, and he is also the convener of the Safai Karamchari Andolan for eradication of manual scavenging. Manual scavenging, you must understand, I'll read out the legislation which has prohibited manual scavenging. It is the employment of manual scavengers and construction of dry latrines, Prohibition Act 1993. So this particular act, it prohibited manual scavenging, but the fact remains, and it was very found shocking to the Delhi High Court judges that in that case, when a submission was made to the court that manual scavenging is going on in Delhi, what do you understand by manual scavenging? Now you must be understanding, because we find so many deaths taking place of people who enter the sewers for cleaning purposes. This actually, we were talking about that manual scavenging, and the judges refused to believe that manual scavenging is taking place in Delhi. So in that case, the Delhi Legal Services Authority was directed by the court to find out about whether the manual scavenging is going on or not. So what happened? It was 2016, and I got a call. It was Ramzan, the month of Ramzan, as it is now, and it was June, very hot, the peak of summer. So I got a call from the member secretary of the Delhi State Legal Services Authority that we require 10 students for this project. He explained the project to me, and I was really, I couldn't understand that how these students, the PLDs, can work in this situation when some of them are observing rosas also. But still, he also told me that they're going to be paid 1,500 per month, per day. And they have to visit the various districts, different districts of Delhi, along with a videographer and the NGO, the members of the NGO of this Mr. Belwada Wilson. Now these people, I called the paralegal volunteers, and I was very happy that a big sigh of relief for me that around 10 people agreed to be a part of that. And out of 10, I think a few dropped. Now I'll give you the names because it is a feather in our cap. I'll give the names: Himani Arya, Ujasvi, Nautiyal, Samreen, Irshad, Adil, Kashif, and Javed. Now these people in fact did the work. They visited various districts where manual scavenging was going on. In the absence of the contractor, they used to get the questionnaires filled. They used to get it videography hoti thi, and and sometimes it was very dangerous because the contractor would never like the people to interact, the scavengers to interact with anybody. But you know what happened? Sometimes there was also some kind of confrontation with the contractor also. But the fact remains that these people, quite a few, all of these students, the Samreen, Irshad, Adil, Kashif, they were all observing Rosa. And in that heat, they did both the things. They did it so well that they completed the work, and it was, we can say, a feather in our cap, in the sense that they prepared a report, and that report was submitted in the High Court of Delhi. When the judges in the open court saw that videos, the CDs on their laptops, they were really shocked, because they were not aware that manual scavenging is going on. And there were certain other facts that out from those people who were questioned and who filled the questionnaires. A few of them were postgraduates also, who were doing this work of manual scavenging, entering these sewers and gutters and cleaning them. Now you know a lot because it has been reported. Earlier it was not reported at all. So that was presented in the court, and the member secretary, who happened to be in the court, he made a submission before the court that this work has been done by the paralegal volunteers from Jamia Millia Islam. And it was reported in the newspaper. I still have that cutting of that newspaper, which was sent to me by the DSLS, that paralegal volunteer of the Jamia Millia Islam. And then the members of the DSLSA, who are the member secretaries of all these authorities are judges. So the member secretary, the additional secretary, along with their staff, they came to our faculty to felicitate these people. And we were so happy. They were given their checks. And you know, the highest amount which one student got, who went for 23 days, was 34,500. So it was the batch of 2013 and 2018. So this is how our students our paralegal volunteers have done this work. I would personally like that once the lockdown is over, I would like that we should again have paralegal volunteer training, so that our students can revive those activities, and they can revive the respect which our paralegal volunteers have won in the state authorities. And this, in the annual report of the Delhi State Legal Service Authority, I was present as an audience. It was mentioned by the High Court, Chief Justice of Delhi High Court, Justice G. Rohini, that the project of manual scavenging was accomplished by the paralegal volunteers from Jamia Millia Islam. So that's it. And so this is what I can tell you about the legal aid right now. The practical aspect of legal aid, how our students and all of us have achieved this. So, would like to have any questions? Now we have the Prevention of Employment as Manual Scavengers and their Rehabilitation Act 2013, because now the intention of the government is not to provide rehabilitation to these, but despite that, it is going on. So many people are dying because of that. And the one thing, one positive thing which I learned from these students who had gone as volunteers, they said that these manual scavengers, those people, I would definitely say there's respected people. They said that when we open a gutter, if we find cockroaches in that, we are not scared to get inside it, because cockroaches are our friends. That means if there are cockroaches in the gutter, that means there is no gas, no poisonous gas. But if there are no cockroaches in the gutter, that means there is gas inside and which can kill them. So that's yes. Yes.
Ma'am, this is very good section and very informative to everyone.
Yes.
Thanks, sir.
Yes. I'm not able to hear you. Hello.
Ma'am, can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes, definitely.
The section is very useful and very informative, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thanks. Want to say something else? Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am. If you want to become a volunteer legal, then what are the qualifications for that?
No, you can write from. Actually, there is a paralegal volunteer scheme given on the Delhi Legal Service Authority's website, NALSA website. You can see that. But it should be the person must be more than 18 years. And if you are a law student, you can ask your law school to organize a paralegal volunteer training for you so that you can also become a paralegal. Now, what is the meaning of paralegal? Paralegal means not legal. That means a paralegal volunteer serves as a link between the society and the Delhi State Legal Service Authority. That person is not going to function as a lawyer. That person is only to provide a link. If there is a small thing, he can help them out. But if there is a major thing, then it can be taken. He can easily report the matter to the Delhi State Legal Service Authority, who can take care. They have counselor, they have lawyers. Yes.
Okay. Well, but right now I'm in final year and I have done one internship in UP State Legal Services Authority also.
Yeah.
So I want to join if I want to volunteer in that, so what I have to do for that?
You can, you are in final year law. 5 year.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
5 year law course, no. Listen. Usually what happens is that they don't prefer to take students from 5th year or 4th year because they want the students to stay with them for at least 5 years. They want the very young people, first year student. But in case you have done internship, why don't you go ahead and complete your law and then try to become a panel lawyer with the authority?
Yeah.
You can also approach the UP Service Authority and find out whether you can be of some kind of help to those people.
Okay,
If
ma'am.
you want to do some good thing, nobody is going to stop you.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yes.
Hello. Thank you.
Ma'am, I am a first year.
Huh?
Hello.
I am a first year. Process
First year.
procedure voluntary.
Please repeat. Sir, please repeat your question.
Yeah, ma'am. I am a first year student.
Yeah.
So can I join with voluntary?
Listen, you are from which state? Where are you exactly now?
Chennai, Tamil Nadu.
Chennai. You are in a law school?
Yeah.
So, you know what? You talk to your dean or your director, whosoever it is. Even Chennai has got their own state legal service authority and district legal service authorities. They can get in contact with the concerned legal service authority and organize paralegal volunteer training for you, all of you. You get in touch with them. Tell your school team to get in touch with them. Ankana.
Ma'am, I'm just asking if it's manual excavating is still a problem, why? Because this is something which is happen in a daylight. why the government or any government doesn't take an strict action to prevent it, because it didn't happen like an selling of any prohibited drugs. So it can
Angana,
easily, they can look at in which area and what doing. And I think some report has says that it has somehow increased because of
I know.
uh,
I know.
this
It is all,
substance.
it is all because of unemployment. That in that case also, there were some people who are postgraduates not able to get some employment, so they were getting this because they were getting paid for it. And when we say that the government should take strict action, I think implementation is a problem in India. And we have the prevention of employment as manual scavengers and the rehabilitation at 2013. Anything being done about it?
Okay. No.
Huh?
No.
Huh?
Okay.
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
Yes. Yes.
Assalamualaikum.
हाँ वालेकुम अस्सलाम
Assalamualaikum.
जी
I am Dr.
वालेकुम
Shahensha
अस्सलाम
from hospital.
क्या कर रहे हैं आप यहाँ
Actually, I was listening to your lecture. It was quite a good lecture.
ओके
I
ओके
have one question. How can I join this association as a doctor?
Actually for becoming a paralegal volunteer it can be either some NGOs or resident welfare associations or schools or who are working for the poor. Now for doctors I have to see because I don't think there is this voluntary work can be done by doctors also, but there must be some scheme under this the Legal Service Authorities Act. There is no, we don't have any such scheme. I can look into it and then inform you accordingly. All right.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am, so much.
Apna would like to offer our heartfelt gratitude to our honorable speaker, Professor Dr. Kehkashan Danial. We are grateful for your time, ma'am, and efforts you took to share your thoughts with us. We would also like to thank our participants for being such a patient audience. I hope with such a wonderful speaker, now we have a better understanding of this topic. Thank you once again, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining, and thank you very much for being a patient audience.